Okay, hold on. Let me get camera on. Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm good. Really well. Hey, thanks for putting some time aside. I know you've been back to back today, so really appreciate it.
No worries. I'm
Yeah.
excited. What time is it there?
Here in Sydney, it is 9:30 in the morning.
Oh
Just
my gosh.
starting the day. Yeah.
It's 5:30 here.
Friday night as well. Spending your Friday night with us. We appreciate
There you
you.
go. I'm for a little bit, and then I'm gonna go watch idiots hit each other. I'm gonna go watch
Brilliant.
Mike Tyson and
Well,
Jake
assuming that's
Paul.
NFL.
No, I'm gonna watch Mike Tyson fight tonight.
Oh, yeah, the big fight. Yep.
I'm gonna see if the old
Brilliant.
people can. I'm gonna see if us old guys can win one.
Love it. Awesome. Well, hey, let's get started, Paul, just to honor your time because don't want to keep you away from the big fight, obviously. And we're
This
recording
is
this
way
on
more
a
important than that, I promise you.
yeah, we are recording this, guys, so you'll be able to jump in, watch the recording, and pass it on as well. But for those of you who have not met Paul, maybe haven't heard a call from Paul before, so Paul Michael is the president of Revo. So heading up Revo, the business project in the Connect United ecosystem or part of. So Paul, I just wanted to get you on a call and really kind of pick your brain, get some of your experience, understand what you see within this business project, and really help us educate more of us
Right
within Revo. So let's kick it off. I would love to ask you, I guess, in your opinion, why does the world need Revo?
Well, if you've ever driven for one of the other services or ridden in one or paid their fees, you'll know. But the reason why I started it is because my mother would say my whole life has been a disruption. So that's kind of a joke, but not really. But I look for things that are wrong, and that's one of the things one of my mentors taught me a long time ago. If you find a big solution to a big problem, you usually get a big paycheck. And if you can help other people at the same time, that's awesome. And so I've done that once or twice in different businesses. I owned one of the largest gold buying companies in the U.S. About 15 years ago, and I kind of just got in that vein of disrupting industries. And about a year and a half, Tony and I, my other partner, we were in the delivery business. We owned a company we built to about 300 cities, doing 30 million a year. And it was kind of doing the same thing that Uber Eats and I don't know what delivery services you have there, but I wanted to change it, and Tony didn't. Tony wanted to kind of go down the same path, just do what everyone else was doing, just do it in cities where they weren't. And it was awesome. It worked. We grew fast and did very well, but I always wanted to go after the big guys, and most people won't. And I look at it and say, when a company gets too big, a lot of times they start not caring about people, not on purpose. I think a lot of companies, they start out with using technology as a good thing, like technology for Uber and Lyft. And I'm not sure what kind of rideshare companies you have in Australia, but here in the US, I think it was amazing in the beginning because the cab companies had a tight grip and they could charge whatever they wanted. They had almost a monopoly on it. Then whenever, rideshare came out, technology started giving people the ability to do it cheaper. And that's what they did in the beginning. It was cheaper for the customer, it was cheaper for the driver. Drivers made more, the customers paid less. And over time, they got away from that. And over time, I tell, there's a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk, and he says that marketers ruin everything. And it's the same thing, I believe, when it comes to big corporations. Big corporations in the beginning start out trying to do the right thing. They don't start out as big corporations first. They start out small companies and they're trying to do the right thing. As time goes by, they start taking all this money from these big corporations or, big venture capitalist firms, or they go public. And now it's not about doing the right thing. It's about making money. And even though they had that goal in the beginning, it has to change, because then you got these, people telling you got to make this money and you got to do this. And we have how many quarters we've had with no dividends and no profit and da, 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 da. And then unfortunately they start changing. And then the big corporations, like, I know one of the big rideshare companies has 33,000 employees with an average salary of $77,000. Like, how are you supposed to make a profit and still pay people fairly when you've got all that going on? And so they can't change. We can start out the right way and we don't have to change. And so using blockchain technology and having people help us run the network, and everything has to be done by a vote. That's why I started it. I started it because I just wanted to go after the big guys, and I knew that we could take them out. We couldn't take them out on spending. We couldn't take them out on advertising. We couldn't beat them in certain ways, but I knew if we did it the right way, there was so much hatred for what they were doing to people. We could make a change pretty quickly. And I mean, we're less than a year old. We're growing very fast here in the US. I know Australia, every day I wake up and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm getting an email from somebody in Australia today asking when we're opening, which is great. It's a great problem to have. But we wanted to make sure that we had things correct here in the US. And my goal is hopefully sometime in January is to make a trip to Australia, do a big meeting, get everything kicked off. And between now and then, my goal is to start, laying the groundwork, finding out exactly what we need to do. We've kind of got a good system here in the US now, and it took us a while to figure it out. Like the way and you can tell me to shut up if you got more questions at any time, because I can just talk. But the way we do it here in the US is like we get a nucleus of drivers and we say, listen, like in the beginning, I'll tell you how I did it. And I had to change the model. In Miami, we opened up Miami. I had 200 drivers. Everybody was fired up, excited, like all these meetings, everybody was gung ho. And then I opened it and I kept telling the drivers, like, you can't do it the same way you're doing it now. You can't just cherry pick. You can't say, oh, I'm not going to take that ride because it's not enough money. You can't, like, if you start a revolution, which is what Revo stands for revolution. If they had the Revolutionary War in the US and you had guys that go, oh, I don't want to go to war today. I don't want to take that ride. I don't want to shoot that guy, or I don't want to do that. Like, you never would have had a revolution that was successful. What we had down in Miami is all these people were gung-ho to do a revolution. Then I told them, you got to take every ride. I don't care if it's 2 miles. I don't care if it's 20 miles. You can't do it the way you did it before. You've got to take every ride. Maybe it's not 20 miles. Maybe you're used to only taking a ride if it's this many dollars. You can't do that. And later on down the road, yes, you'll be able to do that. But right now, you just can't. And they didn't get that through their head. And so we had rides coming in and they wouldn't answer. People wouldn't take the ride because it was too far away or wasn't enough money or this and that. And I said, okay, we're going to redo it. So we started doing it in a scheduling fashion where you could schedule a ride from 30 minutes out to a week out. That gave us 30 minutes to make sure we found a driver. And then what I had to do is really start finding those people that were 100% sold out, gung-ho, ready to do it. And it took a while. Like we opened Atlanta. I had a guy named Jeff Trills. If you ever hear me talk about any of our calls, Jeff was one of those guys that he took every single call. He was a driver, so he understood what it would mean to be a driver, but he also understood the long term of this. Like I tell our drivers now, if 9 months from us opening your city, you're still driving as much as you are right now with Uber or Lyft, then I haven't done my job and you haven't done yours. Because it's not just about having a driver. It's about building a customer base. Like right now, if you look at it, you can go online right now and see Elon Musk has driverless cars as cabs. That's coming. And whenever they have that, these drivers, and us included, will have to go to that model. But guess what? If these drivers have built up a customer base and they've got as many customers as they can with us, with Uber, with Lyft, they're just out of a job because they will get rid of them like that. With us, if you built up that customer base, you're going to keep getting paid on. I don't care if it's carless, driverless cars, you still have your customers. That's the most important thing. So that's kind of where we're at and where we're on our way to.
Yeah, I love that. I think that there's so much in that I kind of want you to expand on a little bit because, and granted, like a lot of people listening to this, Paul, might be super new to this space and trying to get their head around it and thinking the same things, right? How do you compete against such a big corporate giant like Uber? And then how do we compete against future-proofing with Waymo, driverless cars? But what I'd love for you to explain a little bit, because I look at it and I go, it's a two-sided marketplace, right? So you've got the driver and the rider. And so can you expand a little bit just with your knowledge with how blockchain as the technology behind it, like with how the model is structured, how that actually helps benefit the two-sided marketplace and more protect them, right? Because you've got these big giants who, like you said, maybe they did start for the good reason. They saw the gap in the market, they provided the solution, but then they got so big that they monopolized the market. And that's when a lot of control gets taken and the little guy gets squashed. How does blockchain technology kind of protect and advance that two-sided marketplace that we have?
I'll use Revo as an example. When I was ready to go to market, I put about $500,000 to begin with, another $500,000 of my own money in starting to build the app. But I knew it was going to take a lot. So I had a gentleman that's a friend of mine who's an investor, and he looked at my pay plan. He looked at my compensation plan. He looked at every aspect of it. He knows my background and what I've done. And he was willing to put $5 million up. And I was only going to take as much as I needed of it because I didn't want to give up that control that you're talking about. Because I knew that if I did, there was going to come a point where he was going to want me to change things. And I was going to give him 30% of the company for $5 million. Then when they started talking to me, and I didn't understand blockchain, I didn't get it, I didn't know anything about it. When I sat down and I met with Tony and I met with some of the people about blockchain, I had become more passionate about Revo as helping people. And then when they started talking about blockchain, how you have a node network and how that node network can be all over the world and everybody has a piece of what's going on and they have a vested interest in what's going on. And you start getting rewards by running that network. And instead of me having to go out and get funding from someone else outside of myself, I could have put up the 5 million, but I didn't want to. But I also knew that even with me, sooner or later in my brain, I was going to have to turn that into a goal. I need to get that 5 million back. All right. That person needs to get their 5 million back. So even for myself, I was like, man, this blockchain technology makes it so it's transparent. Everything is done on the blockchain. Once we get the rides hooked into the blockchain, you'll be able to see every ride. You'll be able to see how much it was charged. You'll be able to see how much somebody was tipped. You won't know who it was, but you'll be able to see it all. So people can tell if we're doing something shady. If we're like right now with these Uber, these other delivery services or rideshare services, you have no clue what their algorithm is. Like they have a video online somewhere. I can't remember if it was drivers or customers. They did it and they had 5 of them in a room. They all put the exact same address for pickup and drop off at the same exact time. And all 5 of them got different prices. So their algorithm is trying to make them as much money as they possibly can. And so we don't do that. Like we make sure that everything is transparent. Now people can go and look at it. They can go on the blockchain. But then on top of that, for the drivers and for the customers, we give them rewards every single time they do a ride. And there's like 20 different things once we get it all hooked up. Like right now, I'm trying to do it manually. We don't have it all hooked up yet. But soon that will be automatic and people will be getting their rewards. But they'll get rewards. And then if the value of those tokens ever go up, because of the utility that we build into it. So like having these tokens, it's so funny. It sounds like we're going to, I don't know if you have Chuck E. Cheese or any of these kids places in Australia, but every time I say token, that's what it sounds like to me. I'm going to some kid's place, but it's a token that, like with me, the reward points mean a lot because right now, like I'm going to Nashville on Monday. One of my friends is Post Malone's, and some of y'all may know who Post Malone. Post Malone is one of my favorite people. He's become a friend of mine. He's actually playing at the CMA Awards. Well, the guys asked me to come out. Well, of course, a last minute flight is going to cost me a lot because I travel though. I said on there when I went on Delta, I said, hey, how much, use my miles and dollars. I got a first class seat with my miles for $96. Like the same thing with this. But even on top of that, it's going to have a cash value at some point. Like right now with the tokens at 0.00000, at some point, if that goes up to 2 cents, to 5 cents, to 20 cents, because people are going and buying our token, like let's say, for the drivers, what it means is if that token goes up and they're getting paid in dollars or Australian currency or whatever it is around the world, they're getting paid in real money. But at some point, they'll have the opportunity to take it in real money or take it in tokens. Or the customer can go in and buy those tokens because let's say they do an Uber ride for $50, but US. But if they use our token, let's say they get it for 45. Well, they're going to go want to buy that token, which what happens is we all see it with Bitcoin right now. It's going sky high because the demand is high. So if we've got millions of people or hundreds of thousands, then millions, and then maybe, Uber does 25 million rides a day. And I think that's just in the US. Like 25 million, if we just get, some of my friends are like, well, if you just get a little bit of that, I'm like, screw it. What if we get all of it? Like if we had 25 million rides a day going through it where people were paying less money, drivers were getting paid more money, and then that token was being utilized over and over and over because there's a value in it. If it gets up to $1 at some point, holy mackerel. Some of these drivers, I tell them all the time, they're going to make more money doing that ride with the reward points, if the value goes up from what they've earned, then they will doing the ride. I tell people my goal is in the first 24 to 48 months. It was first 12 months. I was a little over the top in my beginning goal. But first 12 to 24 months, maybe 48, I want to have a driver that makes $1 million. Because even with driverless cars and Waymo and all that stuff, I saw a video of a Waymo car in Los Angeles going down the wrong way. Like, it's 5 to 10 years away from being perfect. Like, so we still got time. I mean, you're not getting rid of drivers within the next, I would say, 5 to 6 years minimum. So there's still a lot of time for drivers to make way more money with us. We're going to have delivery added into it in a very short amount of time. We're working on that right now. So when it comes to the drivers, like you were asking, that's where I think the benefit is. You know, they can have the rewards, they can make more money, and they can also build a team of drivers themselves, and they can also build a team of clients. You know, if you sign someone up as a client and they go on it, I go on a trip. I travel all over the world. I was in Dubai this last month. I'm going to Colombia. I was in Amsterdam. When we're in those cities, if somebody referred me and they live here in the United States, but I go to Dubai, I go to Amsterdam, every time I do a ride, and that person's going to get paid for it. Like, they're going to have an international company and never leave Florida. That's what I look at it as. So same thing. These drivers can get customers and drivers and secure their future and secure it so they don't have to work. Now, it takes a special kind of person. It's taken me a while to finally get 2 or 3 of the drivers here that just get it. But once you get a couple of people that understand it and just go after it, then it starts mushrooming. And the same thing will happen in, you know, Australia. It's a different concept. It's a different way of doing it. But once it takes over, you can never go back.
Yeah, that's huge. I think I'd love for you, just for those listening in, because I'm thinking of a couple of conversations here for people. One, I guess that node ownership side, like buying nodes in the Revo blockchain. So I want to talk about that and have you expand on the benefit of that, and you know, the utility that you're bringing into the whole project to increase the value of, like, the potential value of the token, all of that. But then the other side, like, to really help people understand what are the key points when we're, say, in Australia, right, wherever you're listening from, if we're going, okay, grassroots up, we're going to grow this thing, what do we really need to understand in a simple way to be able to know the point of difference? Because you said then, like, as a driver, you know, for say Uber, it's like, yeah, they say they have their own business, but really they're just doing the drives and they're not building out an asset. Because I see them building their customer base, that's their asset. Their driver base, that's their asset. And if they go to work building that asset, that's when they tap into that recurring and leveraged income, which there's no driver that has that working.
I don't know why you need me to tell me. You're doing this way better than I am anyway.
But this is what I'm getting from you. And I think that that's so key, right? Like, someone hearing this for the first time, we have to know, yeah, but why is it different? What problem exactly is it solving? So can you just expand on a couple of those things?
So
sorry if that's 2 questions.
No. When you get into blockchain and you're around a lot of these people, like, I love them all, but some of them get so esoteric and they want to sit in a room and it feels like they just want to talk about how it's peace and love. We're going to take care of everything. Like, if you boil blockchain down to its purest form, in my opinion, which I'm not that bright, I look at blockchain as it's just transparent. Everything is transparent. Everyone can see everything. So it keeps everyone honest, because I don't care who it is. Like, I don't think I would ever do this, but if, you know, got to a point where I had the ability to tweak it one little bit and make another $100 million, who's to say I wouldn't do that? Like, you know, I mean, I'm not perfect. You know, greed takes over sometimes. I've seen it happen in many different things. I tell people all the time, I've seen the CEO. I hate it when they call me CEO and president and all this other garbage, because it's like, I've done it myself. I've owned companies that I've ruined because of stupid decisions I made on the inside. Like right now, I make most of the decisions when it comes to, you know, what we do. But when we decentralize and we have enough people that own the nodes, that always has to go to a vote. Now, between Tony and myself and a couple other people, we own enough nodes to make that vote go the right way that we need to. And right now, we need to have people that can steer it. But as time goes on, you'll have 3 different aspects. If we want to go change the pay plan, I just had to make some changes to the pay plan and I had enough votes. I just did it. But when we get big enough and we decentralize, if it got big enough, like right now, Uber could go in and say, we're making this change and we don't care who cares. If you don't like it, go away. Because that's what they do. With us, you're going to have 3 different groups because of the blockchain. You're going to have the drivers. They'll have a group of voters. You're going to have the users. They'll have a group of voters. And then you'll have the node owners. They'll have a group of voters. So you'll have to have a 65% majority in each one of those groups to make it so that you pass something. So now the node owners can't say, hey, screw the users and the, the drivers. We're just going to take all that money. We're going to change it and take all that money for ourselves, and vice versa. The drivers can't go, hey, we want to get paid more, so we're going to change it. That's what blockchain does for me. And then on the other side of it, it just gives you something that is a real world asset. When you talked about asset, it just gives people the opportunity to share in banking. In my opinion, it's like, I'm not going to go own my own bank, but we can build something like that within our own deal. Like, I mean, this is not the only thing that Revolution blockchain is not just about rideshare. As time goes on, I've got 4 other projects that I'm ready to bring to it at some point. I'm not ready to do it yet. But I mean, if you could have a project where you could use that Rev token to maybe go rent a car like you can with Turo. I'm sure you'll have Turo. You have Turo in Australia. So you have Turo, you can do this car rental thing. Or I have a gold buying company that you can do it with that. Like, there's all these different things. If you could use that token within that deal, then it gives the power back to people. It gives the power to those who are using it. And guess what? It's a real world live or die. It's like in the US, I hate it because they all talk about, oh, we're the land of democracy and this and that. No, we're not. We're the land of, if you're big enough and got the right friends, you get enough money. You don't fail. Like when the banks were going under, they said, oh, these are too big to fail. We can't let this happen. Why not? If that's how the real world is supposed to be built, it's like America has become, I don't know if they do this in Australia, but like it used to be when you played sports, you either won or lost. Now it's like everybody gets a trophy. It's what most of the world has become. This gives it back to people going, hey, you know what? You want to buy a software node and you want to help run the network? You get the ability to get rewards from that every single day. And you also get to help build the network that makes it so that that token goes up or doesn't go up. So it's like you get to share in the drivers right now for Uber and Lyft, they don't get to decide on whether it goes up, whether it goes down. They don't get to go, hey, you know what? I'm going to go get 5 customers today, and those customers are going to be mine for life. They have to go, man, I hope I get enough rides today to make enough money to feed my family. With us, they can go out and go, hey, I'm going to take this QR code that's in my app. I'm going to get 5 drivers. I'm going to get 5 customers. And guess what? Maybe 3 of those customers never do anything. But maybe 2 of those customers go out and refer some other people. Maybe 2 of those drivers are amazing and go out and do 10, 15, 20 rides a day. And you get a piece of that. You get rewarded over that. So you not only get rewards in tokens, you get rewards in real dollars. So on the blockchain side for drivers, I think that's where it's at. Same thing with customers. I mean, let me tell you this one thing. With drivers, to refer someone, you can get a referral bonus for referring another driver. But if you really look into it, you get a referral bonus of one time and people go, oh, like it's $200. Who cares? You got to have, I tell people that driver has to do 17 rides on a Tuesday, holding an umbrella with one shoe off. Like there's all these little things you have to do to make that happen. With us, we say, hey, if you find the customer or the driver and you bring it to us, that's your customer now. That's from now on. Like there's nothing you have to do to qualify for it. There's nothing, you don't have to beg us for the money. It's built into the system. That's another thing that blockchain does, is it makes it so we write a smart contract. And from that going forward, if we say we're going to pay, 3% of the fare, which is what we do, if it's $100 fare, I can't tell you, well, I don't like you today. You're not getting paid that. It's built into a smart contract. And that's another thing that blockchain does. Now, I already forgot your second question.
So have I, but that was
good. Me, that's how I do it.
I'd say you probably answered it. I think that is really cool, like that. whether you want to call it a truth ledger or whatever it is, but for where that effort is going, where someone's putting, whether it is their time or their sweat equity, or being a driver, building a network, or being a customer and going, this is the price. It's not changing when I go into all different ones just to see if they can, you know, squeeze some more profit. It's just that, it's that transparency and that truth ledger for both. Talk to me about, like, so being a node owner, can you, for someone who's, I guess, coming into the space, and I guess just with your background, like I know you've built a lot of successful businesses, you've done very well on that side, building your own wealth and having success in that space. How do you see like node ownership, that opportunity in a sense?
I feel like it's something that I never thought I would be into it. I thought, listen, when I heard about crypto and blockchain, a bunch of my friends have been in it for a long time. And I'm like, oh, isn't that cute? You guys buy a bunch of fake stuff online. And if you want it, if you and all of our friends get together and buy it, then it goes up. But if y'all don't like it anymore, then it goes down. I'm like, aren't y'all cute? Like, I was like, you all know you're going to jail at some point, right? Like, that's what I thought. And then I started seeing my friends make millions. And then I saw the guys make millions in Gala. And I'm like, maybe I shouldn't make as fun of them as much as I do out loud. But when I really sat down, and it took me about 3 months to really understand it. And I still don't understand all the inner workings, but I also don't understand how my microwave works. I just know it makes stuff hot. So what I started figuring out is the blockchain, it just works. I mean, in the crypto, and it just works. And it's like, I mean, if you watch right now, you know, it's on a bull run is what they call it right now with crypto. And it goes in these cycles and it goes in these patterns. But I think a lot of reasons why they go in these cycles and these patterns is because there's no real world, what they call utility behind it. Bitcoin, and over time, I think people are going to be using Bitcoin to do more stuff. More and more places are taking Bitcoin. I mean, there's a restaurant one of my friends own here. He has a Bitcoin ATM in his restaurant. And I'm like, what is that for? And he goes, you don't understand. People go over to it and buy it just for the novelty of it. And I'm like, that makes sense. But over time, more and more places are going to take Bitcoin. Like, my goal is for us to take all kinds of different tokens with Rev, you know, Ethereum, Rev, you know, all these Grow, all these other tokens. I want us to accept those for rides. And I think what it does is it just opens up the world, because there's so many people that aren't bankable or don't have banks around the world. The node ownership, what it does though, is it gives you the ability to be a part of a project and get a reward for it. And that reward can turn into a lot. Now, the project has to work. It has to go. Is there risk involved in buying a node? Absolutely. But is there risk walking outside of the house and not getting hit by a car? Of course. Like, there's always risk in everything that's worth it. And it's funny because you would think that my son's 22. Like, I'm explaining Bitcoin and blockchain to a 22-year-old. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Sorry. I got one door. Sorry. I left the door locked.
You're good.
So, like, I'm explaining Bitcoin and stuff to a 22-year-old. So it's like right now, it's older people, to be honest with you, that are figuring it out and understanding it and grasping it. So the younger generation, I don't even think has gotten into it. They're still on TikTok. Don't worry, I'm right there with them. I love TikTok. But, you know, so I just think that the node ownership gives people an opportunity to participate in something that on a level that they never would have participated. Like, in the beginning of this thing, when it, you know, like, we have 50 billion tokens with Rev that will go out at some point. In the first year, 25 billion of those tokens are issued. So that's when you're going to have the greatest opportunity. And I had somebody the other day that goes, well, that's not fair. And I said, what do you mean it's not fair? Well, what if I buy one 3 years from now? Okay, you buy one 3 years from now. Well, that's not right. I'm like, oh, you're one of those people that thinks everybody should get a trophy. Like, you got to be in the right place at the right time, but you got to take advantage of it. And the people that are taking advantage of it and they're willing to spend, I don't even know what our node's at right now. It started at 2,500. Now it's up to, you know, 25, up to 4,500, right? And it's going to go up, and it's going to go up. I mean, some of the nodes and some of the other projects are at, like, you know, almost 10,000, and you're not getting as many tokens. Now, we could whine about it and cry about it and say I didn't have the opportunity to do that. My parents had the opportunity to buy a McDonald's franchise for $7,000 in the 70s. They didn't do it. And they told me about it. I'm like, how about y'all not tell me how dumb you are? Like, why do you want to admit that you're dumb? And my dad's like, that, first of all, we're missionaries. We don't talk like that. I'm like, okay. But they had an opportunity and they didn't take advantage of it. With us, it's like right now is the best time on the earth to take advantage of owning a node, having it, start it. You can put it up. It starts generating those tokens. And who knows if they'll ever be worth anything. But I can promise you, I'm going to work my hardest every single day because I have an investment, and I don't even call it investment because I'm a node owner. I'm just like everyone else in the community. I put over $1 million into this software. I own 500 nodes in this project. So if it don't work, I'm in trouble. Like, I don't care how good the business does. I want those tokens to 10, 20, 30x. So every single day, my goal is to put more people in the system, to get more node owners, to get us all working together and building it.
Yeah, I love that. Like, I love that you've got so much at risk. I know that might sound bad to say,
No,
but it's
all right.
good. It's like,
I better have skin in the game.
yeah, if I'm going to put my money into something, I want to know that like you're against the wall. It's like you're going to put everything you can into this, like really be driving this. And it's cool because it's equal responsibility. We each can do something to help drive this project. Whereas I think of like, when I buy shares or something, I'm just like, oh, fingers crossed.
Right. You don't get help at all.
Yeah, there's nothing I can do to influence it.
Usually when you buy shares in a company, you just hope you don't see the CEO in handcuffs. Like, that's it. Like, you're just going, please don't let him go to jail. Please let it go up 3 pennies. Let it go up 10 cents. Let it go up.
Yeah.
Here, at least we have a fighting chance to go, I'm going to help. I'm going to help build a community of node owners. I'm going to help build a community of drivers. I'm going to help get customers. And this is something that people can understand pretty easily. It's like some of the other projects, they're amazing. I love all the other projects, but I love ours the most because I look at R-Link and Revo, and I look at those two and go, people understand video. We're on R-Link right now. People understand it. People understand getting in a ride share. My mother doesn't use it, but she understands it. And when I told my mother, she's a missionary, she has a bunch of ladies in her church, and she said, well, I'm never going to use ride share. She goes, you're my driver when you come to town. And I said, yeah, and you're a horrible tipper. But she doesn't tip at all, actually. But I said, listen, what if you got the app and I showed you how to download it and you have your QR code? What if you showed the ladies in your church that if they use some of them use rideshare? She goes, yeah. And I go, I bet some of the people in your church drive and make Uber. I promise you they do. To make ends meet, some of them do it. And she goes, oh, yeah, I know 3 or 4 people that have said they do that as a supplement to their income. And I said, well, what if you got those people and every time they did a ride, you got paid? Or every time a customer did a ride, you got paid. And you took all that money and you sent it over to Israel to make those little ugly outfits you make for kids that you send over there every month. And she goes, oh, like it made real sense to her at that point. And then I told her one day, I go, look at you. You're a blockchainer, Mom. She goes, I don't know what you're talking about. But she showed me because I put some rewards into her wallet. She goes, oh my gosh, I got wallet rewards. And I'm like, they're not good for nothing yet, lady. Like, she goes, well, you're the owner. You can change them in. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to. But at some point, she'll be able to use those for rides. Like we're at some point, my goal is to have in our inside of our app. One of my friends was actually starting this and he's combined it with what we do. My parents are in their 70s. Like, I don't want this to just be something where I make money off of it. I want it to be something that does good. So, if I was going to put my parents in the car with a driver, I want to know who it is. I want to know that they're safe. I want to know that. So we have something called Safe Rides that's coming out at some point where it will all be first responders, EMTs, ex-law enforcement, people of that nature. It'll be a little bit higher fee, but I would feel so much better with my parents. My dad has diabetes. He can't see very well. And he's almost 80. My mom's in her 70s. What if they got to go to the doctor and they're trying to be, safe? They're not going to call an ambulance, but they would call something like this, and I can have somebody go take care of them, and that driver can make good money too. So these are all the things I look at going, this is the stuff that these companies should be worrying about, and their money would come, but instead they're worried about the bottom line. And I don't have to worry about the bottom line right now because I know we pay our drivers more. I'm not worried about the company making a lot of money because of node ownership, that helps me take care of the inner workings of it. You know, a certain portion of node sales that go to help run the business. And so that's another way that node owners can be confident that their money is going to help run the company. So I don't have to worry about going out every single day and jacking the prices up, or, you know, using that for development costs, or taking it from our drivers. Everything we do is based on building the community.
It just makes so much sense, doesn't it? So
Yeah.
much sense. On that, Paul, just to wrap it up, because I'll let you get on with the fight, the big fight night. But what can we do for everyone who is listening in, who goes, yep, great, I'm going to get my Revo node or a few Revo nodes. What can we do to really help influence the success of this whole project and get the win for everyone, right? How do we, you know, give every chance that the token increases in price? How do we give every driver the chance to come in and also set that standard that you were talking about at the start? Like drivers that don't just, no, I'm not taking that drive,
Right.
you know?
So,
like,
I mean, listen,
what can
when
we
you're
do?
getting drivers excited right now is probably not going to be the greatest thing, because drivers don't have a very long attention span. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, they're coming to Australia. When? I don't know, but they're coming. Like, that could be 2 months down the road. It could be 90 days down the road. I mean, hopefully I can come in January and set up a big meeting, and then we can like find out all the legalities, and we can start it on a very small basis. So, but getting them excited, telling me it's coming, you know, that's an amazing thing. But on the node ownership side of it, that's where, if I'm going to go to Australia and we got, you know, one node owner in the whole country, like, okay, like, where am I going to put my time? Like, I was just in Amsterdam with 300 people 2 weeks ago. You know, I'm going to Colombia. They'll have 200 or 300 people. That's where we can look at it and go, look how many people are fired up about Revo because of node ownership in Australia. And look at how much income, you know, revenue has come because people are buying those nodes. That, you know, it's like where the money flows is the focus goes. That's what they say. So the more nodes you have, which benefits you, because the more nodes you have, like right now, I get 1.6 million tokens on a daily basis. Wow. Every single day. I don't use it. I've used those tokens for so many things. I should have about 250 million tokens right now, and I don't, because I don't care. Like, they're not for me. They're for me to use for, you know, I want to build the community. I give them away a lot of times, and I do stuff. So setting up wallets, getting Rev wallets is so important. You can go to app.revoride.com and set up your, you know, your Revo wallet. And if you don't know how to do that, there's a video actually on our Facebook page. It's called Dumb Questions with Casey and I. She goes through and answers. I tell her, listen, we call it that because I'm the one with the most dumb questions. So I'll ask them so nobody else has to and feel dumb. But that kind of stuff is like just building the community, getting more people involved. That's how it works. Getting it listed on these exchanges to get that token to go up, getting wallets, getting people involved, getting node owners, getting people, you know, and then also, I would just be honest with you. I would be telling Connect and the people you know, when you have the ability, send in emails. Tell them, listen, when are we going to see this on the exchange? When are we going to get this done? Because I'm just telling you, a lot of times people get bogged down and busy, but when the field is pushing them, and I'm in the field, like, I don't look at myself as a part of the establishment or Connect or any of those. I'm a brand, and I want Revo to be out there first. I want Revo to be the highest one on the exchange. I want to be, and I'll do everything I possibly can to help it. If it takes me coming to Australia, I'll go to Australia. I mean, I went on a trip to Singapore and they wouldn't let me in. So I got right back in the airport and left. So I'll come to Australia if your country will let me in. I didn't have one vaccination. So I went on a 27-hour flight to Singapore, got there, and they said, you can't come in. And another 27-hour flight home. So when I do come to Australia, somebody better let me know all the rules, because I don't want to get kicked out before I get in.
Well, we did have those stupid rules, but I feel like
but I'm just saying,
for now, you might want to get in. This is your window.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, building the community, having node ownership, that's what's going to show, hey, if I can go to the, you know, my friends and guys that are, you know, running Connect and doing things, and I can go, look how many node sales they just did this month in Australia. It's time for us to open Australia now. Like, they're the ones that are committed. They're the ones that are, and that's what I've told our guys here. I have 3 guys now. A guy named Mario, he's in Houston. A guy named Adonis, he's in Las Vegas. He's full-time military. And then I got another guy named Jeff Trills. And I said, listen, I need you guys to go out and show people what to do. how to do it. I can tell them all day long, but people look at me and they go, of course he's into it. Of course he believes in it. But if you guys go out and you're successful and you make more money driving for Revo than you did for Uber in a week, that's a good story. So what I need to do is just get as many people as we can owning nodes, get as many people excited and on the apps, get as many wallets as we can. Then we come out there in January and we do a big, huge meeting together. And then we go to the next step. And then we go to the next step and the next step. And then it just, at some point, it just takes off and it goes.
Yeah, I love that. I appreciate this conversation so much, Paul.
No worries.
Really,
so
thank
what
you
I'm
so
going
much
to
for
do
your
is I'll
time.
get this recording and I'll put it up on our YouTube page and then you can have access to it.
That'd be great. Really, really appreciate it. I think everyone's taken home a lot of info, a lot of gold nuggets, and we know what to do here as well to get this going. Okay, guys. Thanks so much, Paul. Have a beautiful evening.
Hey, we can do this anytime you want. I mean, I know I had to push it back a couple hours today, and I apologize for that. But if y'all want to do this once a month or once a week, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, amazing.
If y'all want to do Revo, if y'all want to do every week or once a month, if you want to do an overview where I go through the whole thing just specifically for Australia as we build to getting there, I'm happy to do that as well.
Yeah, perfect. Let's try to tee that up. I think we're going to have a lot of people on board.
Right on. All right, well, guys, have a great day.
Brilliant. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, everyone.
All right, bye-bye.
See you later. Bye.